Welcome back to the channel, my friends. I'm Margaret, and at 74 years old, I want to share something that might shock you. I sleep better now than I did when I was working full-time. 5 years ago, that wasn't the case. 5 years ago, I was lying awake at 3 a.m., calculator in hand, trying to figure out if my savings would last until I was 85, 90, or God forbid, 95. The math was terrifying. Today, I want to tell you the story of how a chance encounter with my bank teller changed everything I thought I knew about retirement security, and how 6 simple rules transformed my golden years from anxiety-ridden to genuinely golden. The wake-up call that changed everything. April 15th, 2020, tax day, and I'm standing in line at the bank, watching my account balance shrink month by month. I'd been retired for 2 years. And despite doing everything the financial advisors told me, saving 15%, diversifying my portfolio, living below my means, I was hemorrhaging money. The culprit wasn't extravagant spending, it was life. My husband Robert's medical bills from his diabetes complications, the new roof that couldn't wait, the car that finally gave up after 14 years, property taxes that seemed to increase every year, inflation eating away at my fixed income like termites in the foundation. Standing in that bank line, I did what I'd been doing every day for months, I calculated. At this rate, I'd be broke by 78. That's when I heard the conversation happening at the teller window next to me. An elderly gentleman, maybe 80, was making what seemed like a routine transaction. But what caught my attention was his demeanor, calm, even cheerful. He was chatting with the teller about his recent fishing trip to Colorado, his plans to visit his great-grandchildren in Oregon. This man radiated the kind of peace I desperately wanted to feel. After he finished, I found myself following him out of the bank. "Excuse me," I said, feeling slightly foolish. "I couldn't help but notice. You seem so relaxed about everything. I'm struggling with retirement finances, and I wonder, do you have any advice?" His name was Walter Morrison, and he invited me for coffee at the diner across the street. "Margaret," he said after I'd poured out my fears, "how old do you think I am? Maybe 80? He smiled. "I'm 89. And I'll tell you a secret. I'm financially more secure today than I was at 65, despite living for 24 years without a paycheck." I nearly choked on my coffee. How is that possible? Because I learned something most people never figure out. The goal isn't to avoid outliving your money. The goal is to make your money outlive you. Walter's 6 golden rules. Over the next 3 hours, Walter shared what he called his 6 golden rules for retirement security. These weren't complex financial strategies or risky investments. They were practical principles based on 24 years of successful retirement living. "Margaret," he said, "I'm going to give you the 6 rules that turned my retirement from survival into prosperity. But I need you to promise me something. If these work for you, you'll share them with someone else who needs help." I promised, not knowing that 5 years later, I'd be sharing them with thousands of people through this channel. Rule number 1, the 4% rule is broken. Use the 3% reality check.
"The first thing you need to understand," Walter said, "is that the famous 4% withdrawal rate is based on old assumptions that no longer apply."
The 4% rule suggests you can safely withdraw 4% of your retirement savings each year without running out of money. It was developed based on historical market data when interest rates were higher and life expectancies were shorter. Today's realities are different, Walter explained. People live longer. Interest rates have been near zero for years, Healthcare costs are skyrocketing. The 4% rule is like following a roadmap from 1990. Some roads don't exist anymore. Walter's approach was the 3% reality check. Instead of planning to withdraw 4% annually, he planned for 3%, then used the extra 1% as a buffer for unexpected expenses. That 1% difference seems small, he said, but it's the difference between stress and peace. When your roof needs replacement or your spouse needs surgery, that buffer keeps you from touching your principal. I went home that day and recalculated everything based on 3% instead of 4%. Immediately, the math looked more sustainable. More importantly, I stopped feeling like I was walking a financial tightrope. The psychological impact was profound. Instead of feeling like I was slowly spending myself into poverty, I felt like I had a sustainable plan. Rule number 2. Create 3 buckets, not 1 portfolio. Most people treat their retirement savings like one big pile of money, Walter continued. That's a mistake. You need 3 different buckets for 3 different purposes. Walter drew 3 circles on a napkin. Bucket 1, immediate safety. 2 to 3 years of expenses. High-yield savings accounts, money market funds, short-term CDs. This money earned almost nothing, but it was there for immediate needs and market volatility protection. Bucket 2, medium-term growth, 5 to 10 years of expenses. Conservative investments like balanced mutual funds, dividend-paying stocks, intermediate-term bonds. This bucket balanced growth with stability. Bucket 3. Long-term wealth, everything else. More aggressive investments for money I wouldn't need for at least 10 years. Stock index funds, real estate investment trusts, growth stocks. The beauty of 3 buckets, Walter explained, is psychological as much as financial. When the stock market crashes, bucket 1 keeps you calm because you know you can live for 3 years without touching anything else. When inflation hits, bucket 3 keeps growing your wealth for the future. I restructured my entire portfolio using this system. The immediate result was better sleep. When the market had bad days, I didn't panic because I knew my immediate needs were secure. The long-term result was better performance by not being forced to sell investments during market downturns. I avoided the biggest killer of retirement wealth, selling low during panics. Rule number 3. Healthcare costs will double. Plan for it. Margaret, what's your biggest expense in retirement? Walter asked. Housing, I guess? Wrong. It's healthcare, and it's going to get worse. Walter showed me something that terrified me. Healthcare costs in retirement typically increase by 6 to 8% annually, far outpacing general inflation. What costs $5,000 per year at 65 costs $20,000 per year at 85. Most people plan for healthcare costs to stay flat or increase modestly, Walter said. That's financial suicide. Walter's approach was to assume healthcare costs would double every 10 years and plan accordingly. This meant maxing out health savings account contributions while still working, purchasing long-term care insurance at 65, not 75. Researching Medicare supplement plans thoroughly. Building a specific healthcare reserve fund, separate from regular emergency funds. I know it seems pessimistic, Walter said, but I'd rather overestimate healthcare costs and have money left over than underestimate and go broke paying for medical care. When I implemented this rule, I discovered I was dramatically underprepared for healthcare expenses. I increased my healthcare planning by 150% and bought long-term care insurance that year. 2 years later, when Robert needed extensive physical therapy after a stroke, our health care reserve fund covered everything insurance didn't. Without Walter's advice, that expense would have devastated our retirement savings.
Rule number 4. Social Security is your foundation, not your ceiling. How much of your retirement income should come from Social Security? Walter asked.
I've heard about 1/3. Walter shook his head. That's backwards thinking. Social Security should be your foundation, the base you build everything else on top of. But most people treat it like just another income source. Walter's Social Security strategy was sophisticated. Delay, if possible. He worked part-time until 70, allowing his Social Security benefits to grow by 8% per year after his full retirement age. Spousal optimization. He and his wife coordinated their claiming strategies to maximize lifetime benefits, not just immediate income. Tax planning. He structured his other retirement withdrawals to minimize taxes on Social Security benefits. Inflation protection. Unlike most retirement income, Social Security has built-in cost of living adjustments. Social Security is the only income stream you have that's guaranteed for life, adjusted for inflation, and backed by the U.S. government, Walter explained. Maximize it, then build everything else on that foundation. I delayed claiming Social Security until 68, which increased my monthly benefit by 16%. Combined with better tax planning, this added over $400 per month to my retirement income. But more importantly, knowing that my basic living expenses were covered by guaranteed, inflation-adjusted income gave me permission to be more strategic with my other investments. Rule number 5, your home is a financial tool, not just shelter.
Do you own your home outright? Walter asked.
Almost. We'll have it paid off next year. Good. Now forget everything you've heard about never touching your home equity. Your house is your largest asset. Use it strategically. This was controversial advice, but Walter's logic was sound. For most retirees, home equity represents 40 to 60% of their total wealth, but it sits there doing nothing while they struggle with cash flow. Walter's approach was to make home equity work as part of retirement strategy. Option 1, reverse mortgage. Despite their bad reputation, reverse mortgages can be valuable tools when used correctly. Walter used a reverse mortgage line of credit as insurance against sequence of returns risk, the danger of market crashes early in retirement. Option 2, downsizing with purpose. Moving to a smaller home in a lower-cost area freed up equity while reducing ongoing expenses. Walter calculated that smart downsizing could add 5 to 7 years to retirement savings. Option 3, house hacking. Renting out part of your home, even seasonally, could generate significant income. Walter knew retirees earning $800 to $1,200 monthly from basement apartments or guest rooms. Your house can be shelter and income simultaneously, Walter said. The key is being strategic, not emotional. I initially resisted this advice. Our family home held so many memories, but when I calculated the numbers, keeping a 4-bedroom house for 2 people while struggling with retirement income made no financial sense. We downsized to a 2-bedroom home in a 55-plus community. The equity release added $180,000 to our retirement savings, and our monthly housing costs dropped by $600. That $600 reduction was like giving ourselves a $150,000 raise in terms of retirement security. Rule number 6, inflation is your silent enemy. Fight it actively. Margaret, what was a gallon of gas when you started driving? maybe 35 cents. And today, around $3.50.
That's a 10 times increase over 50 years. Now imagine you're retired for 30 years. What happens to your fixed income during 30 years of inflation?
This was Walter's most important rule. Inflation destroys retirement security more than any other single factor. But most people plan as if it doesn't exist. Walter's inflation defense strategy had multiple components: real assets, investments that historically keep pace with inflation, stocks, real estate, commodities, and inflation-protected bonds.
Variable income streams. Social Security adjusts for inflation, but pensions usually don't. Walter created additional income streams that could increase over time.
Geographic arbitrage, being flexible about where you live, if costs in your current area become unmanageable. Having researched alternatives gives you options, skills that appreciate. Unlike financial assets, skills often become more valuable with inflation. Walter maintained consulting relationships that allowed him to earn inflation-adjusted income when needed. Fixed incomes are great until prices aren't fixed, Walter said. You need income that grows, or the ability to create income when costs rise. I implemented this by shifting 60% of our portfolio to inflation-fighting assets and developing a part-time tutoring business that could scale up if needed. When inflation hit 8% in 2022, our purchasing power actually increased instead of getting crushed like many retirees. The 5-year transformation. Implementing Walter's 6 rules didn't happen overnight. It took nearly 2 years to restructure everything, and another 3 years to see the full benefits. But the transformation was remarkable. Year 1, restructured portfolio into 3 buckets. Delayed Social Security. Bought long-term care insurance. Immediate result: better sleep and reduced anxiety. Year 2, downsized home. Implemented healthcare cost planning. Shifted investments toward inflation protection. Result: increased liquidity and reduced monthly expenses. Year 3 through 5, fine-tuned strategies, built part-time income streams, optimized tax planning. Result: retirement income 40% higher than original projections. Today, at 74, I'm financially more secure than I was at 69, despite 5 years of living expenses. More importantly, I'm confident about the next 20 years instead of terrified. The psychology of security. The most profound change wasn't financial. It was psychological. Before Walter's rules, I approached retirement like a slow-motion disaster. Every expense felt threatening. Every market downturn felt personal. I was constantly calculating how many years I had left before poverty. After implementing the rules, retirement felt sustainable. I had systems in place for different scenarios. I wasn't hoping my money would last. I was confident it would grow. This confidence allowed me to be more generous with family, more adventurous with travel, and more engaged with life. Ironically, feeling financially secure made me less focused on money and more focused on living. Common implementation mistakes. Over the past 5 years, I've helped dozens of friends implement these rules. Here are the most common mistakes. Mistake number 1, all or nothing. Some people try to implement all 6 rules simultaneously, get overwhelmed, and quit. Start with one rule, master it, then move to the next. Mistake number 2, perfect timing. Waiting for the perfect time to downsize, restructure investments, or delay Social Security. Perfect timing doesn't exist. Good timing is sufficient. Mistake number 3, ignoring emotions. These rules work mathematically, but retirement decisions are emotional. Honor your feelings while making rational choices. Mistake number 4, set and forget. Implementing the rules once isn't enough. Review and adjust annually as circumstances change. Your 90-day action plan. If Walter's rules resonate with you, here's how to start. Days 1 through 30. Assessment. Calculate your current withdrawal rate. List all assets and categorize into the 3-bucket system. Research Social Security optimization strategies for your situation. Get quotes for long-term care insurance. Days 31 through 60. Implementation begins. Open accounts for your 3-bucket strategy. Schedule meeting with Social Security advisor. Begin healthcare cost planning and research Medicare options. Evaluate your home equity situation. Days 61 through 90, fine-tuning. Begin shifting investments toward inflation protection. Implement tax-efficient withdrawal strategies. Create emergency procedures for market downturns. Establish annual review schedule. The real test, 2020 through 2022. The true test of Walter's rules came during 2020 through 2022. Pandemic disruption, inflation surge, market volatility, and healthcare chaos. Retirees following traditional strategies suffered. Many were forced back to work or dramatically reduced their lifestyles. But those of us following Walter's rules thrived. Our 3-bucket system protected us from market volatility. Our inflation protection strategies worked. Our healthcare planning prevented financial disasters. Most importantly, our psychological preparation kept us calm during chaos. Advanced strategies for different situations. For high earners, focus on tax optimization and Roth conversions. The rules work. But tax planning becomes critical. For low earners, emphasize Social Security optimization and geographic arbitrage. Small improvements in efficiency create large impacts. For single retirees, prioritize healthcare planning and community building. Loneliness and medical emergencies are bigger risks. For couples, coordinate strategies between spouses, 2 Social Security optimization strategies, 2 health care plans, coordinated tax planning. The estate planning connection. Walter's rules don't just protect you during retirement, they position you to leave more to your family. By avoiding forced asset sales during market downturns, maintaining adequate health care reserves, and planning for inflation, you protect not just your retirement, but your legacy. The 3-bucket system ensures that even if you need extensive long-term care, some assets remain protected for inheritance. Technology and modern tools. When Walter developed these rules, retirement planning relied on pencil, paper, and quarterly statements. Today, technology makes implementation easier. Apps for tracking multiple investment accounts. Online calculators for Social Security optimization, robo-advisors for portfolio rebalancing, healthcare cost estimators and planning tools. But remember, technology is a tool, not a strategy. The 6 rules remain the foundation regardless of the tools you use to implement them. The community aspect. One unexpected benefit of following Walter's approach has been community. By feeling financially secure, I've been able to focus on relationships and helping others.
I now mentor other retirees through our community center. I volunteer with organizations helping seniors with financial planning. I stay connected with working friends who are planning their own retirements.
Financial security creates emotional bandwidth for connection and service.
Adapting for future changes.
Walter's rules work because they're principles, not tactics. As the economy changes, the specific implementations might evolve, but the underlying principles remain. Plan conservatively and prepare for the unexpected. Diversify across time, risk, and asset types. Protect against inflation actively. Use all your assets strategically. Optimize government benefits.
Plan for healthcare cost increases.
These principles will be relevant whether interest rates rise, fall, or stay flat, whether inflation surges or disappears, whether healthcare costs moderate or accelerate. The letter to my worried self. If I could write to myself 5 years ago, standing in that bank line calculating my way to poverty, I'd say, "Dear Margaret, your fear is understandable, but your situation isn't hopeless. You're about to meet someone who will change everything you think you know about retirement. Listen to him, trust his advice, implement his strategies, and most importantly, don't let fear paralyze you into inaction. Your best years are ahead of you, not behind you." Walter's legacy. Walter passed away last year at 94. His memorial service was standing room only, testimony to a life well lived and relationships well maintained. At the service, his daughter shared something that brought tears to my eyes. Dad's greatest pride wasn't his financial success. It was the hundreds of people he helped achieve financial peace. He used to say that money was just a tool for creating better relationships and more opportunities to serve others. That's Walter's true legacy, not just the 6 rules, but the understanding that financial security's real purpose is enabling us to focus on what matters most: relationships, service, and making a positive difference in the world. Your next step. If you've made it this far, you're probably feeling a mix of hope and overwhelm. That's exactly how I felt leaving the diner after meeting Walter. Here's your first assignment. Choose one of the 6 rules and take one action this week. Not all 6 rules, just one action on one rule. Maybe calculate your current withdrawal rate. Maybe research long-term care insurance. Maybe schedule a Social Security consultation. Maybe look at your home equity situation. Just one action. But I predict that action will give you confidence for the next action, which will build momentum for real change. The Sunday Family Promise. Every Sunday, I still have dinner with my family. But now, instead of worrying about becoming a financial burden, I'm helping my children and grandchildren plan their own financial futures. Last month, my daughter said something that made me realize the full impact of Walter's gift. "Mom, watching you transform your relationship with money has changed how our whole family thinks about retirement. You've shown us that aging doesn't have to mean decline, it can mean wisdom applied." That's my promise to you. Implementing these 6 rules won't just change your retirement. It will change how you think about aging, how you relate to money, and how you approach the future. Most importantly, it will give you the confidence to stop surviving and start thriving. The final truth. Walter taught me that the question isn't whether you'll outlive your savings. The question is whether you'll build systems strong enough to support not just survival, but a life of dignity, purpose, and service. You have the knowledge now, you have the tools, you have the examples. The only question remaining is whether you'll take the first step toward implementing them. Your financially secure future is waiting for that decision.
Thank you for watching, everyone. If Walter's story and these 6 golden rules inspired you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more practical retirement wisdom.
In the comments below, tell me, which of the 6 rules challenges your current thinking the most? That's probably where you need to start. And remember, in memory of Walter Morrison, who taught me that retirement isn't about gradually spending yourself into poverty. It's about building systems so strong that your money outlives you, while you live with dignity and purpose. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, remember, security isn't about having enough money. It's about having systems that work, regardless of what the future brings. Keep building your secure future,